again, apparently all right is my word. Every time I watch these videos, I say that word a lot, but it's okay. Today, we are here for a Zoom and Learn with Brandon McGee from McGee Law Firm. We had 110 people register for today, which is amazing. So Brandon is going to be talking about, what is he talking about? I don't know. I should know these things, shouldn't I? He's going to be talking about how to pay for long-term care. There's a lot of different options out there available to you, and it's never too early or too late to start planning how you are going to pay for your long-term care. So I am going to take the spotlight off of me because you don't need to stare at me anymore. We're going to put it on Brandon. Make sure you are unmute yourself, Brandon. And the floor is yours.
Okay, guys. So thanks so much for joining us today. Mitch is helping me here for a second. We're going to attempt to, I believe, do a split screen with the slideshow. So one second here. Sorry, guys, bear with us. The slides do help, though. Okay, can everybody see the slides?
I think everyone's muted.
Okay, everybody's muted. Okay, so today we're going to talk about how to pay for long-term care without going broke. As you guys probably know, it's getting pretty expensive. There's, especially in large markets like DFW, and lots of different options out there and different ways to pay for it. And a couple of little matters we'll talk about before I get into this topic. Number one, when I present this seminar live, which until COVID I did many times in the past, we would give hard copy materials to the attendees. So if any of you guys would actually like kind of a synopsis of what I'm talking about today in print, you can give us a call or send us an email, and we're happy to get you all those materials. And a little bit about me. So I am a DFW native, which sometimes I think makes me kind of a rare breed these days. But I was born and raised in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I've been practicing law since 2002. Prior to that, I went to Texas Christian University, where I studied history and political science, and then Emory University School of Law in Atlanta, Georgia, where I studied law for 3 years. Then I came home to Texas after that and have been here ever since. I'm a member of the American Academy of Estate Planning Attorneys and the National Academy of Elder Law Attorneys. And just kind of quickly, these academies are professional organizations. The American Academy of Estate Planning Attorneys in particular, you have to be highly vetted before you're let in. So what that tells you is that when you're listening to an American Academy member speak or counsel you on your legal matters with estate planning, elder law, you know that it's somebody that really knows what they're doing. And for our firm, just so you guys know, this is what we focus on. We don't have 3 or 4 areas of practice, and this is one of them. This is what we do day in and day out, and it's what we enjoy. Again, I'm also a member of the National Academy of Elder Law Attorneys, another great organization that gives me a great network of attorneys across the state and across the country, and they keep us on our toes when it comes to current trends in elder law and estate planning. We're also, we have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, so we've been a member of the BBB for a while now. And one question that I think is important for you to maybe ask is, why am I in this area of the law? What led me to become, excuse me, an estate planning attorney, elder law attorney? And, especially because there's so many different things that I could be doing as a lawyer, right? I'm sure all you guys know that many different things that attorneys do, just like doctors, engineers, for example. So, but this is my family here, and actually some family events led me down this path about 8 years ago. So when I got out of law school, I became a trial attorney, and I was a litigator, and that's what I wanted to do. That's why, honestly, why I went to law school. I wanted to be in the courtroom. I thought it sounded very fun and exciting, and it was very fun and exciting for a number of years. But as I started my own family, these are my twin sons here. I started to get burned out on it a little bit. The stress, the demands, it's a very stressful way to make a living, to be honest with you. And so started getting a little burned out, and having some second thoughts about if that's what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. Then in the year 2012, so almost 9 years ago now, actually, in May of that year, my wife, Rita, who was 39 at the time, was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. And our twin sons were about to turn 4. And so this was obviously, if any of you guys have had this kind of a diagnosis in your family or for yourself, particularly at a younger age, it was just really shocking, really out of the blue, and obviously, caused, it was just a big ordeal in our lives, and my wives in particular. So Rita started chemotherapy almost immediately, started going through that. And about 35 days after that, my father, in his backyard in Dallas at the age of 64, passed away of a sudden and massive heart attack. And it was one of those here one moment, gone the next type events, just completely out of the blue. Nobody had any idea something like that was coming. So within 35 days, I had lost my father, and my wife and the mother of my kids was going through chemotherapy with a really serious cancer diagnosis. So that caused me to do a lot of reflecting, and what I kind of came out of that year with was the fact that estate planning had been a smaller part of my practice, but it was a part of my practice that I really enjoyed. And the reason that I really enjoy estate planning and elder law is because it gives me a chance to help families set up their estate, their legal affairs, so that when these bad things happen in life, when people pass away, when people lose their mental capacity, when people have to go into nursing homes, the family is prepared as they possibly can be. And I really enjoy it. Litigation was kind of dealing with the aftermath of a train wreck. And with what I'm doing now, I have a chance to help families set up so they can avoid those kind of legal train wrecks. And best part of all this is my wife, Rita, is now 8.5 years, what they call no evidence of disease. So very happy to report that. And that's enough about me. Let's get on with the topic here. So nursing home protection, right? We all know that this is something that we are seeing being built left and right here in DFW. Memory care units, skilled nursing home units, the assisted living, right? And so, and most of you guys may know this, but there's various degrees, even within assisted living, there's different levels depending on what your needs are. The higher the level, the more expensive. Once you go out of assisted living and you go into, if somebody goes into skilled nursing, which by the way, as we speak, I'm dealing with this issue with my mother-in-law in my household right now. We're about to transition her from assisted living to skilled nursing, unfortunately. But this is something that I personally am dealing with myself. And then we have memory care unit, right? And the further you go down that road, the more expensive things become. Right now in Texas, average cost $6,500 a month for skilled nursing, okay? Some places are more expensive. Memory care units tend to be more expensive as well. And so this is something that can really devastate some families. Now, if you have a family that can, let's say they're considered to be wealthy, it may not be as big of an issue because they have enough resources that the world is not going to end if they spend $400,000 or $500,000 in a nursing home. We have other families who that's absolutely going to devastate them. That's going to wipe out all of their resources. That's not going to allow them to leave anything for the next generation. And so those are the families that when we're talking about nursing home care, we're really looking at the solid middle-class families that stand to really lose out on everything they built up if they don't take care of this issue. So different long-term care planning strategies are out there. So we're going to talk about each one. Okay. Number one is to use your own money. Now, like I said, if somebody is independently wealthy, they can do that. That's fine. They consider themselves to be self-insured. Also, if you have no other plan that you put in place and you or your spouse need to go into care, this is what you're going to have to do. You're probably not going to have an option other than to spend your own money. So not having a plan equals spending your own money. So be careful about that. And let's after you see this, start thinking about things and thinking about what kind of plan would be good for you to put in place. Number 2 is to buy long-term care insurance. So I recommend for the vast majority of my clients that they look into long-term care insurance. There are different kinds of policies. I'm not an insurance salesperson. I don't sell any of them. But I'll just say that there's different kinds of policies out there. It's not, one size fits all. And I encourage people to look into this because most of these policies, if you get the right one, they will pay out for home health care. They will pay out for assisted living. They will pay out for a memory care unit, and they will pay out for skilled nursing. So that gives you a lot of options, right? And it's also can be a very good thing to have an insurance company on the hook to pay for this. If you need home health, if you need memory care, if you need assisted living. So it's something we want to look at. That being said, it's not for everybody. Some people, like my wife, for example, people with serious pre-existing medical conditions very well may not qualify. Somebody, if they're an advanced age, they may not qualify, or it may be so expensive that it's just ridiculous. And then some other people, maybe it just doesn't fit in somebody's budget. Maybe some people just can't really afford it. But it's there for some people. There's people who can afford it. And like I said, they have a lot of different options that can make it more affordable. There's people who can qualify for it. And so it's something we want to take a look at. Okay. Just want to emphasize that. Third option, applying for limited Medicare benefits. Medicare is not going to pay for a permanent or prolonged skilled nursing stay. Okay. What Medicare will generally pay for is a short-term rehab type stay. I believe now these things change here and there, but I believe it's maybe 60 days, 90 days, something like that. For example, if somebody falls and breaks their hip and they have to have hip surgery and then they need to go to rehab for a month, to learn how to walk properly on the new hip. That's the kind of thing Medicare will pay for, but it's not a solution to the person who has to go into a care facility and they're not going to be coming back home. So what types of care does Medicare cover? Again, skilled nursing, and you do have to have a 3-day hospital stay beforehand. So if you're in the hospital for a day and a half, and then you're trying to transition to a rehab, Medicare is not going to cover it. So you need to stay in the hospital for 3 days. And I think the hospitals understand that. So if you're going to be transitioning to a rehab, you need to tell the hospital, look, I'm transitioning to a rehab. They're not going to let me, Medicare is not going to pay for it unless I'm there for 3 days. And I think they work with you on that. Okay. But if you have to go to rehab, probably you need to be in the hospital for 3 days anyways beforehand. And so it's going to pay the cost for the first 20 days. And then after that, you'll pay $185.50 co-insurance per day. And then after 100 days, it completely stops. Okay. So that's what Medicare will pay for. It's not a permanent solution to this situation. Number 4 is to qualify for veterans aid and attendance benefits. So number 1, if any of you guys or ladies are veterans or your spouses were, we thank you for your service. And you may, I'm going to emphasize the word may, have some benefits available to you through the VA. Aid and attendance is not for every veteran. It's for veterans who qualify based on a list of criteria. And you really need to go to the VA to determine that. I wouldn't rely on the internet. I would, go to the VA and let them tell you if you qualify, number 1, based on your service. Number 2, what do you qualify for? Because some people, somebody may get $1,800 a month in benefits. Somebody else may get $2,800 depending on different circumstances. So you want to know if you qualify, you want to know how much money is available. Now, the good thing about this is if you do qualify, this money can be used for home health. It can be used for assisted living. It can be used for long-term skilled nursing, and it can be used for memory care. So you can use it in any of those arenas, and that's good. Also, keep this in mind, and we're about to get to Medicaid and talk about this more. But if you're a veteran and you qualify for aid and attendance based on your service, you may be disqualified because you have too much monthly income or you have too many assets. You know, your retirement is over a certain limit, so they won't accept you, or you have too much money coming in monthly. There are things that we can do through legal mechanisms, legal devices to help somebody qualify for VA aid and attendance, even if they wouldn't normally qualify because they have too much money. And so that's why you want to go now. If you're a veteran, you want to find out, do I qualify? And then what are your limits for income? What are your limits for assets? Because it can change. And there's a 3-year look back on anything that you do for VA. So for example, if we help a family set up to qualify for VA who actually has too much money to typically qualify, that has to be set up 3 years in advance of the person asking for the benefits. So this is not something that you can, there's a big medical issue and then you can come set it up and it's going to work. It needs to be set up ahead of time, while everybody's doing well, so that we get past that 3-year mark. Okay. Now let's talk about number 5. This is Medicaid. This is the one that will apply potentially to anybody, right? Because as Texas residents, we can all potentially qualify for this. Medicaid is the program that is run by the state of Texas, funded in part by federal dollars, that will allow what are called, quote, low-income seniors to have their skilled nursing home stay paid for. Keep in mind, Medicaid is not going to pay for assisted living, and it's not going to pay for home health. Okay, this is going to be for skilled nursing. We're going to walk through the process of this and what it takes to qualify for Medicaid, and then what you can do to set up your estate to qualify. So even if right now you feel like, my gosh, there's no way I'll ever qualify, I'm $300,000 over the limit, I've got $800 more a month coming in than what they allow, we can still help you set things up to qualify. But there's a 5-year look back. So you got to remember the 5-year look back for Medicaid, 3-year look back for VA. So there's 2 categories of Medicaid. And actually, before I tell you this, let me kind of back up here. There's 3 overall criteria that Medicaid looks at to approve a Texas resident. Number 1 is medical necessity. So they need to see a report from your doctor, from a doctor who's treated you, that convinces them that you have a need for round-the-clock medical care. So Medicaid is not just for somebody that kind of thinks, I think I should go into a nursing home, I think that's probably what's best for me. You're actually going to need a doctor to say that this is absolutely necessary, that whatever's going on with you is necessary. Example, my mother-in-law, unfortunately, has been falling a lot. She is having just really problems standing, walking, blood pressure going through the roof. And so for her, the doctors have said that, she needs 24/7 medical supervision and help, because she basically can't dress herself. She needs assistance getting up, going and taking a shower, things like that. So you need that round-the-clock medical care. Number 2, they're going to look at assets, okay? And if your assets are over a certain threshold that we'll look at here in a minute, those numbers, you will not qualify. Number 3, they look at monthly income. And if your income is over a certain threshold, you will not qualify. Okay, so those are the 3 broad criteria. Now let's talk about assets. Is Medicaid going to count every single asset that you have? And the answer to that, fortunately for us Texans, is no. There are some assets that they're going to count called countable, some assets they're going to count that we call non-countable. Not very creative, but pretty self-explanatory. Okay, what are non-countable assets? What is Medicaid going to say? You can have that and we're not going to count it and you can still qualify for Medicaid. In Texas, a homestead that has a value up to $603,000. So you can live in a house that costs $600,000 or less and qualify for Medicaid, okay, if you have nothing else, basically. So that's off limits, and that's good news for us Texans. Your personal belongings within reason. If you have the normal things that people have, you know, your Medicaid's not going to make you calculate the value of your personal assets. However, if you know, have an extensive gun collection, expensive jewelry collection, coins, things like that, that is something that would be countable. So keep that in mind. But if you have kind of the generic things that most people have, not a lot, you're not heavy in valuables with personal property, Medicaid is not going to count that. And then number 3, one vehicle titled in the name of the Medicaid applicant. So you can have one car in your name, or motorcycle or truck or boat, but just one titled vehicle. Prepaid funeral plans are non-countable. So that's good. That means that if you and your spouse have paid, you know, $15,000 towards a prepaid funeral plan, you don't have to cash that in. You can keep that. So that's good. Life insurance, up to $1,500. Okay, well, thanks a lot, Medicaid, right? Not much money. However, when we talk about life insurance and Medicaid, we're not talking about the death benefit payout, right? We're not saying that, well, when I pass away, my wife gets $300,000, so therefore I can't qualify for Medicaid. That's not the situation. This is a vested equitable interest in the life insurance policy while you're alive. So if you can cash a life insurance policy in while you're alive and it's worth more than $1,500, that overage is counted. If it's $1,500 or over, it is not counted. There are some annuities that are non-countable assets. More or less, these are irrevocable annuities. Okay, and all of this is something you want to be very careful with. All of this is something that you want to consult a professional like myself, because you make one wrong move and you've lost the game. But with annuities, just to kind of hit that point home, basically, if you have an irrevocable type annuity to where you cannot get the money back, period, you just get your monthly income from it, you have no entitlement whatsoever when it comes to saying timeout, I want my money back, then probably it's non-countable, but we would still need to look at the paperwork. Most annuities, however, are countable assets, because most of them you can get your money back if you're willing to suffer a penalty. You can say timeout, I want my money back, but the contract says, well, we keep 20% and give you 80% back. That's something like that's kind of common. Then that would be countable. Okay. Now, for a long time, all retirement assets were countable, period. Okay. 401k, IRAs, all were countable. However, in the last year and a half, Medicaid has kind of loosened up a little here in Texas. And they've said that if you have a traditional IRA and you're over the age of 72, you're 72 or over, and you're withdrawing your required minimum distributions as required by law, then that IRA is not countable. So that was a big game changer. So it used to be that if somebody had, $100,000 in an IRA, it was countable, period. Now, again, if it's a traditional IRA, meaning you pay taxes on it as you withdraw, then if you're 72 or older and you're taking your RMDs, it's non-countable. Okay, so that's a game changer in Texas. Now, what is a countable asset? What does Medicaid count? Because we just looked at what they don't count. Everything else, any real property, real estate above and beyond your homestead, any vehicles more than one in your name, boats, things like that, checking account, savings accounts, brokerage accounts, CDs, 401ks, Roth IRAs, companies. If you own a company, they're going to value that. So everything else that holds value other than what's on this list, Medicaid is going to count. Okay. Now, what are the caps? and this is, I like to save this till after I talk about that to create a little suspense, right? Because everybody wants to know, well, just tell me the dang caps. I want to know. So here they are. On the left, this is for your assets, okay? If you're a single person, meaning you're divorced, you're widowed, then you're allowed to have $2,000 in assets, total assets that are countable and nothing more. If you have $2,001, you will be denied your Medicaid application, okay? If you're married, they're a little bit nicer, and they now say that we can have $130,380 in countable assets, okay? So they leave a little bit of leeway, meaning that when the spouse who's on Medicaid passes away, well, hopefully the community spouse still has that $130,000, so they have a little bit of money to continue living on, right? And then if, God forbid, we have a married couple and they both need to be in long-term care at the same time, they have to spend down their assets to $3,000, okay? So what does this mean practically speaking? If I'm a single person and I have $80,000 in cash assets that are countable, what do I have to do? Well, I just have to keep writing checks to the nursing home until I get to $2,000. There's been families, they've spent $200,000, $300,000 before that the individual could qualify for Medicaid, and they blew through everything they had, and they were not able to pass anything down to the next generation. I've also had people come in who have had $500,000, $600,000 in assets, married couple, and they're looking at spending down all the way to $130,000. So that nest egg that other spouse was depending on to be there is not going to be there. It's going to be greatly diminished, right? So this can be problematic. There is something that we can do about this, okay? So if somebody comes in to see me, everybody's okay, nobody needs to go into nursing care anytime soon, and let's say it's a couple, and they say, look, we have $500,000 in countable assets. What do we do here? Is this just a big problem? We can set up what's called an irrevocable trust, okay? And the assets can be funded into the irrevocable trust. And after they've been there for 5 years, so there's a 5-year minimum, but after 5 years, Medicaid has to say those assets no longer belong to Mr. and Ms. Smith. Those assets belong to the Smith Trust, and they're non-countable, okay? So it's kind of this magic act where we put the finances into the irrevocable trust, we wait 5 years, and voila, they're no longer countable assets with Medicaid, all right? So that's the solution there. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. There's some downsides to that kind of a trust too, and we'll talk more about it. Now over here on the income cap, a single person, this is monthly income, can have $2,382 per month in monthly income or less and still qualify for Medicaid. If you have $1 more, literally $1 more, 1 penny more, you're not going to qualify. If you're married, between you and your spouse, you can have $3,259.50 per month. If you have 1 penny more, then you will not qualify, okay? So for married people, remember, we're combining both spouses' assets and both spouses' income, even, and this is terrible sounding, but it's the way it is, I have to tell you, if you were married 8 months ago and then something happens to your spouse and they have to go into nursing care, they're still counting all your assets, okay, because you're married. So you really gotta keep that in mind before you get married, right, later in life. But that's how that works. And with income, is there a solution to this? If somebody comes into me, a single person, and says, look, I have $2,800 a month in income, so does this mean I'm never going to qualify for Medicaid? And the answer is no. There is a trust called an income-only trust that we can set up, and we can funnel part of the income into that trust. And then that person, once it goes into the trust, in the trust account, and it's no longer going into the bank account of the individual, Medicaid will not include those funds, okay? And there is not a look back on that. So that's some good news there. That's one of the very few things that can be done at the last minute here. So we can solve the asset problem with an irrevocable trust with the 5-year look back. We can solve the income problem with an income only trust, or what's also called a Miller's trust, and there's not a look back. Okay, so those are the solutions there. Some pitfalls to avoid. Okay, some of you guys may know we have a gift tax exclusion here in the U.S. with the IRS, and so you can gift $15,000 a year to just about as many people as you want. And if you don't go over $15,000 for any given individual, nobody pays taxes on it. It's tax free. A lot of people think, well, if that's okay with the IRS, let me just start giving $15,000 a year to my kids and my grandkids. And if I have to go into nursing care, I'll get on Medicaid eventually because I've already gifted away a lot of my money. Again, you got to think about the 5-year look back. Medicaid, if they scrutinize, like the IRS in an audit, your banking records all the way back to 5 years. And if they see gifting being done out of your estate, they will not accept your Medicaid applications. You have to be very careful with that. And I'm not talking about gifting like generic birthday, you go, order something off Amazon, or, go to Target and get your grandkids Christmas gifts that are reasonable. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking usually about giving somebody a car, gifting somebody, a noteworthy amount of money out of your account, giving somebody property, real estate, for example. And then we've got at the end here, we've got MERP. That's the Medicaid Estate Recovery Program. Their goal is to come in after a Medicaid recipient has passed and get every dime they can from that person's estate to reimburse the state of Texas. So if somebody pays out $130,000, if Medicaid does, and then that person passes away, they want to go to that person's estate when they pass and get reimbursed for every dime. Okay, which makes sense. The state wants to balance the ledger, right? However, as an attorney, it's my job to tell you that you can avoid MERP, because really, what's the point of setting up for a Medicaid claim if at the end they're just going to take their money out of your estate anyways, right? And your family's not going to get it. There's almost no point. But MERP has to come in through the probate courts to be able to assert their claim. So if you set up your estate to avoid the probate court, which I talked about last time when I spoke a couple months ago a lot, I'm not going to talk about it right now because it's kind of outside of the scope of this, but if we offer a complimentary consultation, so you guys can set that up anytime. We can do Zoom, in-person, phone, whatever you want to do, and I can talk about it. But just remember, if you set up your estate to avoid probate court, which is good in general, then your family can also avoid having to pay back MERP, the money that was spent on you for Medicaid. Okay. Number 6, irrevocable trust. So this is what we talked about earlier, is the solution for qualifying for Medicaid if you have too many assets. So again, the assets get transferred into this trust. They have to be there for 5 years or more before they're non-countable. That's real critical. Here's something else that's real critical. This is not something that you want to jump into lightly. There can be downsides to an irrevocable trust, and here's what they are. Number one, it's irrevocable. Once you set it up, you can't get rid of it. Number two, it's basically unamendable, unchangeable. A revocable trust, without an I, revocable, you can amend it anytime you want. You can revoke it anytime you want. But with an irrevocable trust, we got to approach it as it's set in stone. Once I do this, that's the deal. That's how it's going to be. Also, you nor any of your beneficiaries can be the trustee. So normally you're picking a third-party trustee, such as a friend or a family member, to be in charge of the trust. Okay, it's just part of the rules. For it to be an irrevocable Medicaid trust, somebody else has to be in charge besides you or your beneficiaries. That being said, it has saved many Texas families hundreds of thousands of dollars. Okay, it's really helped some families out financially in this circumstance, but it is something you want to really, you don't want to go into it lightly. Okay, now, so I just kind of walked you through all your different options to pay for long-term care, right? So we have use your own money. We have get long-term care insurance. We have limited Medicare benefits for a rehab type stay. We have VA benefits for people who qualify. We have Medicaid benefits that can potentially be for anyone. And if you don't qualify now, you can set up to qualify, okay? So I want you guys to think about this. And it's not a wonderful thought, and I apologize for that, but my job is to help you prepare here. And it's nice and sunny and beautiful out. So when we're done with this, you can walk outside and feel the nice air and feel this warm sunshine, right? And forget about this for a little bit. But imagine if you or your spouse in the next week have a serious health issue, end up hospitalized, and then you can't go home. Whatever's going, you know, maybe it was a massive stroke, whatever it was, it's going to send you or your spouse to a skilled nursing home. Do you have one of these ways set up to pay? Do you have insurance? Are you set up for Medicaid? If you're a veteran, have you gone to the VA to see if you qualify, and have you set up for VA aid and attendance? If the answer to this is I would venture to guess maybe a lot of you, for sure some of you, the answer is going to be no. I just have not taken care of that, and that's okay. You're in good company. A lot of people have not taken care of that. But just imagine the financial toll and stress it could cause your children, it could cause your spouse, and it could cause you. So if the answer is no, what that means is you're just going to start writing checks. You're going to cash in your retirement. You're going to go into your savings. You're just going to start writing checks until you get down to those Medicaid minimums. All right. So this is why we really recommend giving us a call, taking advantage of that 1 hour complimentary consultation. Like I said, it can be Zoom, it can be by phone, it can be in person. We take a lot of COVID protocols in our office, so just whatever you prefer. And let's take a look at some different options for you. Because again, we're really trying to avoid losing your whole estate, losing a large part of your estate. And the reality of it is this: if this happens to you and you're not prepared and you start writing checks, who's getting your money that you would hope would go to your children one day, or that you hope would be there for your spouse to enjoy later in life? It's the nursing homes, and individuals own the companies that own the nursing homes. They make a lot of money. It's a good business, and you would just be using your own personal life savings, your own personal retirement. And instead of passing it down to your family, you're basically handing it over to a nursing home because you haven't left yourself any other choices. So we really encourage you guys to take a look at this and kind of see what the best path for you and for your family is. And you may conclude that it's to do nothing. And sometimes that we come to that conclusion for various reasons. And oftentimes we conclude that no, there is something here that we should pursue to help out with this. Okay, guys. So that's it for paying for long-term care. Those are the different ways to do it. And now what I'd like to do is I'm going to entertain questions. I spoke to you guys before, and you always have great questions. So I'm going to open this up to questions now. Okay, so I've got one here that's popped up, and it's from, Miss Weaver. Let's see, let me go to chat real quick, and let me kind of get my glasses on so I can read.
I can read them to you, Brandon.
Okay, now I've got it now. Okay. Okay, how does someone sign up for long-term care insurance? So what you need to do is talk to an insurance agent that offers long-term care. If any of you work with a financial planner, sometimes the financial planning companies also offer those services. So you might want to start with your financial planner. You can also give us a call and we can get you in contact. But it's just kind of like if you're shopping for life insurance or medical or auto, you need to call an agent and ask them tell them, I don't want you to just present one thing to me and kind of push that on me. Tell them that you want to know all the options that are available, because there's a lot of different options. But starting with an insurance agent or a financial planner is usually the best way.
If I'm not mistaken, I do believe that is one of the services that AmeriLife provides in addition to doing Medicare. So I would recommend reaching out to them. Their information is in our magazine, and they are a company that represents everybody. They're not pigeonholed into just one product or one.
Yeah, absolutely. They're a good company.
Yeah. Any other questions? Feel free to put them in chat. While we're waiting, I am going to give a kernel of piece of advice. So one of the hardest conversations that you can ever have with your family is exactly the conversation that Brandon just had. I can't tell you how much I have learned from these, and they have started conversations with my own mother-in-law. She wants my son, her grandson, to get everything, which is great. And I keep telling her, Mom, we need to look at this option. We need to do this. Let's put it in a trust so it's protected for him. At least put the house in a trust. And can I tell you, that is, as an adult child, it is the hardest conversation to have with someone. It's the hardest thing to bring up. And my piece of advice is, if any of you have your children that bring that up to you, it's difficult for the child to do. So be kind to them, because
right.
Honestly,
Great point.
not
That's
greeted
true.
with kindness.
Right. Absolutely.
I was not greeted with kindness.
Yeah, they can be, it can be initially an awkward topic for everybody. But again, it's much better than that, there's an emergency and everybody's running around with their hair on fire. It's like anything else in life. Pre-planning is always much better than last minute planning.
Yep.
And then we've got another question here. Are you doing this presentation again? I would like my son to attend if possible. Yes, I will at some point. I honestly, as I sit here right now, I don't know exactly when I'm doing this particular presentation again. You can call our office and find out. Also, I think, Zoe, you said that this will be on y'all's YouTube page, right?
Yes, and what we're going to do with this one is we're actually going to send the direct link to this video once it gets posted to our YouTube channel. So you'll be able to share that with your family to look at. You'll be able to re-watch it if you like, but we're going to send that out to everybody. So yeah, that'll be great.
Yeah, so hopefully you can show your son that, or you can call the office and they'll let you know the next time I'll be doing this particular presentation.
Yes. Most certainly. Yeah, so that's great. I mean, gosh, you do such a great job with sharing information. We didn't have all that many questions this time. It was very straightforward. But I think if there's no other questions, what do you say we give those gift cards away, Brandon?
Well, there is one other. We just had one other question pop up.
Oh yeah, I just saw it come through. You're right.
From Judy. So I found that my dad had an extensive coin collection that I found in clearing out his house. It was not in the will. Will it be counted in my assets? So this is where I have to be careful in my response. If I'm erring on the side of caution, I would probably say if it's in your possession and it seems that it's now yours, then yes. However, if there's a valid, belief that this isn't really mine and I'm going to be giving this here at some point while I'm still living to another family member, I'm just kind of holding on to it for now. Maybe you have an argument that it's not. So that one's kind of a gray area. Personal property can be a big gray area with Medicaid, and I'll just kind of leave it at that. Obviously, guys, with personal property, it's a lot harder to verify, right? It's easy to verify that your financial accounts, your real estate holdings. It's much harder to verify what you have in your house. That can be really tough, if not impossible. I will just tell you, when you fill out a Medicaid application, it's a government document. You're applying for government assistance. There are criminal liabilities associated with not being honest. So I'll just kind of leave it at that.
So we do have Glenn said, what kind of expenses they're involved in hiring a professional for advice?
Well, I'll just start with this. I offer a complimentary consultation the first time to any family or individual, and for up to an hour. And past that, it just depends. I mean, it really depends on what somebody's needing to do. But the first hour is on the house. It costs you nothing. It's just an hour of your time to kind of see what your options are. And then from there, we look at what those options may be, and prices could be all over the map.
Perfect. Peggy Quinn said, talk to your investment person. There's 2 investment companies that offer an annuity that will flip to long-term care if needed. And that is true. I am aware.
That's good advice. And there's also, there's now hybrid life insurance long-term care policies where you can purchase a life insurance policy, but dip into it for long-term care needs if you need to. So there's some, that's why I said investigate all your options. There's some really good creative options out there for long-term care insurance.
Yes, most definitely. Awesome. Well, wonderful. Let's see. So Trisha Lee is asking, do you recommend getting life insurance?
Well, sure, sometimes. It may not be for everybody, but I'll tell you what I like about life insurance is that it can, if you do end up going, sometimes we'll have a client and they say, look, I have not set up anything for long-term care, but I have a $400,000 life insurance policy that goes to my spouse or my kids when I pass. And we kind of look at that as long-term care insurance because your estate's going to bleed all the money that you pay out to the nursing home, but when you pass away, it will get reimbursed by the insurance policy. And if you never end up in long-term care, well, then it's a windfall for everybody. So, I mean, yeah, in general, life insurance can be a good thing, but it's not one size fits all. It depends.
Most certainly. I'm putting your phone number into the chat right
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay. Oop, wait, it helps if I send it to I was sending it to not everyone. Hang on, guys. Sorry about that.
And then also, guys, we have a pretty good internet presence. We're on Facebook. If you type into Google search, McGee Law Firm estate planning, we'll pop up somewhere in there pretty quick. So that's our number. And then we also, you can find us on the internet and Facebook as well.
Most certainly. Fantastic. All right. And Jan, they're located in Fort Worth, correct?
And Southlake.
In Southlake, yes.
We have 2 offices.
I've been to the Fort Worth office, so that's the one I always think of.
Yeah, we're downtown Fort Worth and we're in Southlake. So those are our 2 locations to offer.
Awesome. All right. Well, if that is it.